If the Fed raises interest rates again today, as it's poised to do, costs for Americans who are borrowing on their credit cards, mortgages, and student loans are going to go up again. So what does this administration have to say to working families who have already slid into debt over rising inflation and are now going to be paying more?
As it relates to inflation more broadly, this is a president that has, when it comes to his economic policy, he's put lowering costs for the Americans a top priority. And we understand, and you hear this from the president as well, we understand that the American people, some people are still feeling the squeeze and still feeling kind of the pressure, if you will, of where we are with our economy. Inflation is at the lowest rate it has been in almost 2 years since May 2020. Inflation has fallen about 45% from its peak last year. Wages rose last month and are higher than they were 9 months ago, accounting for inflation as well. Gas prices are down about 140. We understand that there's more work to do. The president gets that and understands that. That's why the Inflation Reduction Act was so important.
Thanks, Karine. The Fed just raised interest rates again, and you mentioned that inflation has come down, but it's still stuck at 5%. Is the president frustrated that inflation isn't coming down more quickly?
The president is working every day to make sure that we do what we can and meet the American people where they are on lowering cost. That's why he took some historic actions. That's why we were able to do the Inflation Reduction Act, where MAGA Republicans, they are doing the opposite. They're gutting programs that lowering cost, take our economy hostage with the default. That's what they're threatening.
What's more, Karine, a lot of people are looking at this situation and wondering where the urgency is. Back in 2011, it took the president and congressional Republicans more than 3 months to reach a deal. Why does President Biden think he can reach one with Republicans in 3 weeks?
We've been very clear, right? We've been very clear of what this could mean for the American people. This is their constitutional duty. When we're talking about the spending, this is something that Republicans and Donald Trump spent already. They need to deal with this immediately. Deal with the debt ceiling immediately. This is something that they can do today if they choose. And we cannot be a deadbeat nation. We cannot.
There are conversations that have been reported about potentially invoking the 14th Amendment, which would essentially allow the president to deal with this debt limit crisis unilaterally. Can you characterize how serious those discussions are? Have they gone all the way up to the level of the president?
So, look, we're not going to entertain scenarios where Congress compromises the full faith and credit of the United States. We've been very clear from here. The president has been very clear that Congress must act. This is their constitutional duty to act, and we must avoid catastrophic threats to our economy.
You've taken invoking the 14th Amendment.
What I'm saying is that I'm not going to certainly negotiate from here or do anything like that. We're just not going to entertain scenarios. This is their constitutional duty.
Assuming, obviously, that Speaker McCarthy doesn't go into the meeting next week and say, congratulations, you've got a clean debt ceiling increase. What realistically is the president expecting to get out of that meeting in terms of commitments, agreements, anything on the debt ceiling or budget?
He's going to make it clear to Speaker McCarthy what's at stake. He's going to make that very clear. They're going to have a conversation. They had one earlier this year, and this is a continuation of that conversation to make very clear that Congress must act.
So nothing concrete in terms of...
I'm not going to get into hypotheticals or ahead of what is going to come out of the meeting. What I can tell you is what the president is looking to do.
Important to the White House at this point to keep bringing down inflation or to prevent more economic slowdown?
I don't think it's one or the other. I think the president understands that when he's president, he has multiple things that he needs to deal with. We have said that we see the economy moving towards a transition of more stable and steady growth. We see that in the data.